Hey guys, this is Mari, and I'm back with the new episode. This episode, guys, I think is going to be a bit different. Um, we don't usually do cases that have to do with crime. I guess, I don't know if really this would be a case of a crime, um, but something kind of toward that area. Um, this is an interesting case to me, and I think it's a case that I can kind of start my way into doing cases that have to do with crime. Um, this is the Elisa Lam case. And it's a very interesting case just because, I mean, we really don't know what happened. We don't know if there was foul play, if it was just an accident. So I think that's what makes it so interesting. People can, speculate and bring their theories up on what they think occurred. So anyway, I'm going to try to cover it. So let's just get into it. So Elisa Lam is a student. She was a Canadian student who was actually a current student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. She was traveling to LA, and I don't think she planned on staying there very long, but she did check into the Cecil Hotel, and that is where she ultimately disappeared and died. She On February 19th, 2013, a body was found in the water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in downtown LA. She was later identified as Elisa Lam. So, she was missing for quite a while. She was missing from January 31st of 2013 to February 19th of 2013. So during that time, people don't know what happened. Based on how her body was found, we're assuming she died pretty soon after she disappeared. But we don't know for sure. So Elisa Lam has both her parents, David and I believe it's Yina Lam. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And her sister Sarah, I think, who was her younger sister. And as far as I could tell, she was pretty close with her parents and her sister, which we'll come back to that a little bit later when we talk more about how about her disappearance and all that. But before we get more into Elisa and how she disappeared and all that stuff, I want to talk more about the Cecil Hotel, which I think today it's called the Stay on Main. But the Cecil Hotel has some pretty sketchy stuff happen during its time that it's been open, which I think also, like I said, makes this case more fascinating. Just because, when you hear about the history of the hotel, it just makes it that much more creepy. Like, it just makes it more weird. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance and how she died, what could have happened to her, because so much stuff has happened to the hotel anyway. So, like I said, it's now called the Stay on Main, but the Cecil Hotel has been around for a really long time. So, and it opened in downtown LA in 1924, I believe. It was built in 1924, but it opened in 1927. So it took about 3 years to construct. So, the name change, they say that it's due just because of its dark past. There have been so many suicides, like mysterious deaths, murders, even a couple serial killers have been known to stay there during their time that they were killing. So, that just makes it more creepy, And I guess to just avoid that, that dark past that it had, they switched the name to Stay on Main. I guess to kind of make it fresh, like a fresh start, I guess, So there are 19 floors and has 700 guest rooms. So as of 2017, from what I read, it was being renovated. I don't know if it's currently closed or if it's still open for people to be able to stay there. But I did read that they were having some kind of renovation being done. So I have to find more on that. But anyway, it cost $1.5 million to complete. $1.5 million. That's a lot. And that was back, in the 1920s. So you can imagine how much it would cost now, that same amount of money. But, in the beginning, it was super fancy. It had like marble in the lobby, stained glass windows, all these different statues. You know, it was pretty fancy at first. And so it's crazy that, how it kind of went down and became this just, weird, creepy hotel. They say the decline of the hotel really happened after the Depression. There was an area nearby that was known as Skid Row, and it was known to be a place where lots of transients lived, homeless people, and of course, with that comes, drugs and, different means of them surviving. And so, that happened so close to the hotel that it just kind of, the hotel just kind of got caught up into it. And it just slowly started to decline, and more people that were not usually staying at the hotel would kind of loiter around the hotel, and it just kind of went from there. And so, the hotel, like I said, has a history of all these like suicides and murders and just people that died mysteriously, and you just don't know how or what happened. But I'm going to give you a list of some, what I found of some people that have died in the hotel. So this is quite a few. I don't think I even listed all of them, but I'm going to list a few. So the first confirmed suicide, occurred on January 22nd, 1927. So the hotel, I don't think it was even open like that long. Now some of these names I might mess up, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try my best. So Percy Ormond, he was a cook. No, Percy Ormond Cook. He shot himself in the head while in his hotel room after trying to get back together with his wife and child. So, he tried to get back with them. He couldn't. And he committed suicide. He shot himself in his hotel room. The next death occurred in 1931. W.K. Norton died in his hotel room after taking poison capsules. So that's a little weird. September 1932, Benjamin Dotich committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. So lots of people shooting themselves. In 1934, Sergeant Lewis D. Borden committed suicide by slitting his throat. Ouch. In 1937, Grace Magro died by falling from a building. 1938, Roy Thompson died that same day. He also, I think, fell from the building. And I'm assuming, did they fall from the building? Were they pushed from the building? We don't know. In January 1940, Dorothy Segar died by ingesting poison. So someone else ingesting poison. In 1944, Dorothy Jean Purcell gave birth to a newborn in her hotel room. So I don't know if the person she was staying with, I don't know if they knew that she was pregnant or she was trying to hide it, because from what I read, Dorothy started feeling bad. She started having like pains, and so she snuck into the bathroom without her partner knowing, gave birth to the baby, but she stated that it was stillborn, but we don't know if it was really stillborn or not. But she states it was stillborn, and then she threw him out of the window. She was later acquitted due to insanity. Why would you I don't understand. Why would you throw your baby out of the window? Even if he was stillborn? I don't know. I don't get it. But, yeah. There were many more occurrences. I could just go on and on of things that have occurred there. People jumping from their buildings, falling from buildings, murdered, committing suicide in various ways. It's just weird. Now, the Cecil Hotel was also home to a few serial killers during the 1960s and 70s. One of them was a man from Austria. So his name is Jack Unterweger. I hope I'm saying that right. But, guys, it's so weird because when he went to the Cecil Hotel, he was considered a journalist. He had a job as a journalist, and he had traveled there, I guess, for his job to, um, you know, they had him working on something, and so he was there working. But guys, the thing with him is that he was already in prison for murder in Austria. Okay, so when he came to the Cecil Hotel as a journalist to do work, he had already killed somebody. Okay, and the way that he got his job, okay, so what happened was, let me go back to the very beginning. So I don't know too much about his history. I have to look him up more just to find out more information. But I know that he ended up strangling a woman with her own bra. I mean, he strangled this woman with her own bra. Okay, he was sent to prison, and like, people started noticing in prison that he was, he could write really well, he could draw really well, and he was, they were like fascinated by the way he wrote and stuff. And so, I'm not sure exactly who, I have to read more on it, but they basically, when he got out of prison, he was offered a job as a journalist. Now, remember I said he was in prison for murder. Okay, so how he was able to get this job, I have no idea. But apparently everyone liked him, and they gave him a job, and so that's how he made it to the Cecil Hotel from his job. And during his time at the Cecil Hotel, he ended up killing, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 other people, from what I read. If I read it correctly, he did murder while he was there. So, like, he'd be, this person who, people look at him and they're like, oh, he's a journalist, and he does good work and all this, but he had actually killed before, and I think he killed during that time at least 2 women during the time that he stayed there. So that was creepy. Another serial killer is, and this is one that I know more of. I've heard of him more. Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker. So he was known to have resided there in the 80s. I believe it was 1985. And during this time, he killed 13 women. Okay, like the hotel was known to already have, like homeless people going through it, and like transient people like all these different people, and then it was known, there to be drugs and, all this different stuff going on in the hotel. So when Richard, the Night Stalker, when he would come after killing women, he would come through the hotel, and like they wouldn't even, there was no nothing. Like when he would just go by the lobby, like I think at one point I read that he had just finished murdering somebody, and he just came walking into the lobby in his underwear, and he had blood on him. And no one even batted an eye. No one said anything to him. They just let him walk through, because that is the kind of people that were known to hang at the Cecil Hotel. I mean, you could just walk in your underwear with blood, and they wouldn't say anything to you. So he was able to remain under the radar due to the hotel's reputation. So he just walked through as, just finished killing somebody, and they didn't say anything. They didn't even wonder why. Why does this guy have blood on him? Why is he in his underwear? So that was really, really weird. So guys, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so mysterious that what happened to this girl. We really don't know what happened to her, but just the way that she was found, and the whole thing with her disappearance. But then you see the history of the hotel, and you're like, that makes it even more weird, more creepy. So going back to Elisa Lam. So she was scheduled to check out, of the hotel on February 1st. And now, this kind of goes back to her parents. Okay, because that day she had not contacted her parents, so they called the police. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, they didn't hear from her that one day and they called the police. Why? Okay, well, so she was known to be bipolar. She was diagnosed as being bipolar, and she took like 4 different medications. Okay, and So that's one of the main reasons her parents didn't even want her traveling, because of her bipolar disorder, and apparently it was like really bad. Um, so one of the stipulations they gave Elisa when she left was, you have to call us every day, no matter what. You need to call us, let us know you're okay. Um, so that day, she didn't call, and so they were like, what the heck? Why isn't she calling? So immediately they knew something was wrong. So they called the police. So going back to her disorder, um, she, like I said, took 4 different medications. Um, the ones I'm going to list, I hope I'm saying them right. Um, one of them was Wellbutrin, and it's an antidepressant. The second one is Lamictal, and it's used to treat epilepsy and bipolar disorder. Seroquel, and is used to treat bipolar and schizophrenia. And the last one is Effexor, and it's also an antidepressant. So, she had struggled with this for many, many years, and I think she did pretty good for the most part. But I feel like, from what I read, that when she had her episodes, they were pretty bad, which is why she was required to stay on these medications. So the thing is, though, from what I read, that during that time that she traveled to LA and made it to the Cecil Hotel, I don't think she was taking her medications. If she was, they were not the way they were supposed to be taken. And what I mean by that is that I don't think she took them every day. But I don't know for sure. That's just what I've read, that she either wasn't taking them like she was supposed to every day, or she wasn't taking them at all. Now, during her time there, I think it was that first few days that I don't know, it was the first 2 days that she was there. Because their situation in the hotel is weird. So sometimes you can get a hotel on your own, like you stay in your own room by yourself, and other times they kind of like board you with like 2 or 3 other people. And that's what happened to Elisa when she got there. She was put with 2 other girls, I believe. But right away, the girls were like, no, like we don't want her in our room. She's creepy. She's weird. She talks to herself a lot. She acts weird. So they requested for her to be moved out, or for them to move to a different room. But I think they ended up moving Elisa and leaving them there. So they moved her into a room by herself. And but other than that, I think her stay was okay. Besides that incident, but I don't think she was there very long. Before the day that she disappeared. So the day that she disappeared was the 31st. And it was very strange because, like I said, her parents hadn't heard from her, so they called the police. The police started an investigation, going through the hotel looking. They didn't find her. So, I guess some people were saying that maybe at first they thought maybe she had just left on her own. Like, maybe she just got up and left, and I'm just going to take off. But her parents were like, no, she wouldn't do that. This is not like her. It's just very strange because she's supposed to call and she's not calling. We've tried contacting her. Nothing's going on. And, they say that they searched everywhere for her, especially in the hotel. They searched everywhere. And they could not find her. And, which is weird because, she ended up in the tank. So, clearly they did not look everywhere, because they would have seen the lid open on the tank and they would have found her. But either way, they looked and looked, and at some point they looked at the security footage, and that's when they found the famous footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator. So, and this is, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to link it. What I mean by that, I don't think I'm going to show it up on the screen, but I will link it, so that way you guys can click on it and you can watch it if you want. But I am going to talk about it. So, there was security footage found at the hotel on the day of her disappearance. in this video, she's seen entering the elevator wearing a hoodie, a red hoodie, black shorts, and sandals. So when she comes in, she leans toward the buttons and pushes all the buttons down the middle. The elevator doors don't close. I'm thinking one of the buttons that she pushed must have been like the hold button or the open elevator button, and so that's why the elevator door stayed open. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm guessing. You see her jump out almost like she's expecting to see someone, so I don't know, maybe she thought someone was pushing the buttons on the outside, and that's why she jumped out. But then she goes back in and then leans against the wall and then goes toward the corner like she's trying to hide from somebody or something. And so it's really, really weird how she's behaving. And then at one point she steps back out and begins motioning or moving her hands like she's conversating with someone or something. And then goes back inside and pushes the buttons again. She then exits again outside the elevator, and then she just walks out of view and she's gone. So definitely weird behavior. Some people say that the footage was edited, and so maybe she is talking to somebody and they just removed that person from the video because they didn't, for some reason, I don't know why. And that the timestamp on the video has been altered. I don't know. That's something that we really will never know. If it was altered, why? Why would the video be altered? Why would somebody mess with the video unless there's, something that they don't want anybody else to see? So, I don't know. But either way, she's acting super weird in the video. I was reading that some people said that it could be an episode she was having. She was having some kind of psychotic episode due to her bipolar disorder. And that's why she was acting like that. But we really don't know. But it's really, really, really weird. So, anyway, that is the video. And you could pretty much find it everywhere, but I will link it. But it's just really strange to look at. It's just so creepy. And that's the last known footage of her alive. Like, that's the last time people saw her alive, was on that video. So, I don't know how much longer after the video she ended up in the tank. I'm not sure. But, the search was going on for her, and people were still searching. But during this time, guys, that she was missing, hotel guests started complaining to the hotel staff about water pressure. The water pressure was off, right? When they would take showers, when they would drink water or get something from the sink or whatever, they said the water pressure was off, and the water came out discolored and had an unusual taste and odor. And they complained about it for quite a while. And so on the morning of February 19th, a hotel maintenance worker he went up onto the water tanks, I guess, to check, because that's where they would get their water, from the water tanks. And he found Elisa Lam's body in one of the 4 1,000-gallon tanks located on the roof. The tanks, like I said, provided water to guests, the kitchen, and a coffee shop. He opened the hatch. The hatch was already open. The hatch door was already open, which is why he went up there, because he noticed that one of the doors was open. So he went in there. He had to get a ladder to climb up there, and he saw her body laying face up, and she was naked. But her clothes, surprisingly, were floating in the tank with her, which is weird. The tank had to be drained and cut open to accommodate equipment needed to remove her body from the tank. Now, these tanks were not little. These were, like I said, 1,000 gallon tanks, and they were 8 feet by 4 feet. So they were, like, good size. On February 21st, the LA Coroner's Office issued a finding of accidental drowning with bipolar as a contributing factor. So they're pretty much saying that she did have, some kind of episode, some kind of psychotic episode. Something happened that has to do with her bipolar disorder, and she somehow made her way in there and then accidentally drowned. Which, it is possible. If you're not in the right mind, you're not going to think clearly. But, how would you, I don't know how you would make it from being in the hotel to the very top of the hotel and then make your way into the tanks. And it's not easy getting into the tanks, guys. You know, like from the research that I found, you know, it's really tight between all those four tanks. It's really like a tight squeeze to get in between the tanks, find the ladder that attaches to the tanks, climb up there, and lift the lid to the tank, which is not, they're not like easy. Like, you know, it's they're heavy doors. You lift it up and then decide, okay, I'm gonna get into this tank. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, who knows? So they said it was accidental, but the weird thing is her clothes had a sand-like coating on them, which is weird. I don't know how that would even occur. So how did she get into the tank? That's what a lot of us want to know. How did she get into that tank? So to get to the tanks, you know, you have to go through these doors, to the door to get to the roof. But the doors are supposed to be locked with, and only staff is supposed to have passcodes or keys to get in. So how did she get up there if the doors were supposed to be locked and you're supposed to have passcodes? So, you know, that's why some people were saying that maybe one of the staff members led her up there. Or maybe one of the staff members forgot to lock the door, so that's how she made her way out. You know, I mean, I don't know. The theories are endless on this. You know, some people speculated she might have gone up through the fire escape, and that's how she made her way onto the roof. We just don't know. It's just so weird, you know, because, you know, how did she make her way up there? How did she, you know that those tanks were up there and that was the way to get to the roof, to get to them, and know, I need to get this ladder to go up on the roof and go onto this tank, and, you know, I just want to jump in, you know. Or maybe she opened it, she looked in there, and maybe she fell in. The thing with her clothes, you know, some people speculated that maybe either one, she took them off because, you know, it makes you that much heavier. You get heavier when you're wet and you have all these clothes on. It weighs you down. So you take your clothes off to make yourself more buoyant, and you'll stay afloat longer. So maybe she thought during that time somebody would come help her. Or maybe, you know, there was even this also that people were saying that maybe it was the water was so cold that she started suffering from hypothermia. And an occurrence called I think it was called paradoxical undressing, when your body is so cold that you actually feel like you're burning. You feel super hot, and so you start taking your clothes off because you feel like really, really hot, but really your body's freezing. But I just don't know. I just don't think the water in the tanks would be that cold for her to have suffered from that. So I don't think that's it. But guys, there's lots of theories that I found that I'm going to talk to you guys about. So we're going to start the theories on what happened. One of the theories that I found was suicide. So on her social medias that she frequented a lot, she wrote about her depression and her anxiety, how she was feeling. So some people speculated that she committed suicide. She purposely tried to kill herself. Excuse me. So, I mean, that is the theory. But I just don't see how she would do that to kill herself. Like, you know, I'm depressed, I want to die, and so I'm just going to climb to the roof of the hotel and make all this effort to go up on to this tank and just throw myself in. I just don't see that. I just don't see it. All these other people that have committed suicide in the hotel were in their hotel rooms. So I just don't see her going through all that effort to kill herself. The next one is accidental drowning. So that's what the coroner said, right? That she had died accidentally. So some people speculate that because of her bipolar disorder, she took medications in the weeks and months before she died, right? But she had stopped taking those medications, which is what I had stated in the beginning. In the state that she was in, she was not thinking right, and she found her way to the tank and got in or fell in. The tank was full at first, so the water was up to the top. But as the water was being used, it was lowering and lowering and lowering, and so she couldn't make her way back out, which is a possibility. Um, the other one, misusing substances. Due to the elevator footage, we can see that she was acting very strange, very weird. So people were saying that maybe she might have misused her medicines, um, or other substances, and that's what caused her to die in the tank. Um, I mean, I have read that she was not taking her medications like she was supposed to. Um, but as far as other medications that she might have been taking besides her prescribed medications, I'm not sure about that. I don't think anything was really found in her system that could conclude that, so I don't know. Other people say that she was murdered, which honestly, when I first read this case, I speculated that. Like, I was like, maybe she did get murdered, because how would she get to the roof and into the tank when guests are not supposed to do that? They're not supposed to be able to get to the roof of the hotel. That's only for staff only. So the first thing I thought of was one of the staff members killed her. Either somebody tried to attack her or like sexually assault her or something, and she said, nope, I'm not having that. And so they somehow subdued her and brought her up to the roof of the hotel. I mean, that would make sense, right? Because they would have the codes and keys or whatever they need to get to the roof. They would know, real quick to how to locate the ladder, how to adjust the ladder to put it up on the tank and get her up there and just throw her in there. So, I mean, it's possible. Another one that I thought was very interesting was a dark water connection. So, a lot of you, and honestly, I didn't even know about this movie until I did research for this case. So, Dark Water, a movie that was made in 2005, is a residence of an apartment complex where a mother and daughter that's where they live. And people start complaining of dark, foul-tasting water, which leads to a body in the water tank. So some say that there was someone who killed Elisa and copied the events of the movie. So that was creepy. And now I actually want to go back and watch that movie. So hopefully, I'll get to watch that soon. And so I can see kind of like, more of that connection that people are saying. But that was really weird. They're saying that, it's so similar to what happened to Elisa. In the movie, a mother and daughter move into this apartment complex, and all of a sudden, water pressure's off. Water's tasting funny, it's looking funny, and then they find a body in the tank of that apartment complex, right? And in Elisa's case, she ends up in the water tank, and people start complaining of, foul tasting water, and the water pressure's off, and it's just so weird that it's just so similar. It's kind of creepy. Now the last one that I found was also interesting. It was tuberculosis test subject. So another theory is that Elisa was a guinea pig for a new tuberculosis medication. There was an outbreak in 2013 on Skid Row, and one of the tests that they used to test for tuberculosis was called, and I'm not lying when I say this, it was called Lam Elisa. That is super creepy. So the theory is that she was sent to LA to test out a new medication for tuberculosis, and her behavior in the days leading up to her death were just side effects of that. So, I don't know, that's really creepy to me. It's definitely, I don't know, it's possible, right? But the test being called Lam Elisa, like exactly how her name is spelled, creeps me out. But anyway, guys, this is the story of Elisa Lam. So it was very interesting for me to research and talk about. And I want to do more cases like this, guys. I want to kind of go more into stories about, crime. So I want you guys to let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think about this case. And if there are any cases that you want me to cover, let me know in the comments so that I can start doing research on those cases and get those videos out to you guys. So this is it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.